Hello viewers, welcome back to the channel. And so today we are just going to be uh, testing and replacing the battery on this vehicle. The vehicle I'm working on is a 2010 Toyota Corolla, and it's equipped with the 1.8 liter engine. And, and today I'm just going to be talking about using a battery a conductance tester to test batteries, and I'm also going to be replacing the battery on this. So now I hooked up a battery a conductance tester because I tested this battery off camera, and it has started to get week, and the winter is here. So anyhow, we are going to test the battery. You can see it's at 12.04 volts, almost completely discharged. So this is a 12-volt battery. This is inside the vehicle. It's a top post. This one is an absorbed glass mat battery, AGM. It's not a regular battery. This battery is approximately 4 years old now. So usually here in Canada, on average, batteries will go like roughly around like 4 to 6 years, but a majority of the times, every 4 years is the time to replace the battery. It's going to be dependent on climate. So if you live in like a hotter climate, such as say uh, California in USA, or maybe Florida, you probably have to replace the batteries sooner, probably every 3 years maybe. So it's going to vary depending on the climate and the driving conditions. So you can see here it's CCA. This is for cold cranking amps. So this is rated at 640 CCA. If you look on the battery somewhere, it will say 640 CCA. Just gonna grab a shop towel for you guys to see right here, 640. I don't know if you guys can see that. I moved the light out of the way. It says 640 on the battery. So we're gonna put 640. Enter. Said to please wait. It says the battery is good and recharge. And it's switching the screen here. Let's go back to go back view print. Not I'm not able to print on this on this machine. I think it does like Bluetooth printing or something. So this one says 12.04 volts. It's measured at 355 cold cranking amps. The battery is rated at 640 cold cranking amps. Now, usually when you have a new battery or a fairly used battery, it should put out a little bit more than what it's rated for. But you can see here it says 355. Earlier, I tested this when the vehicle was outside. It measured 346. So this is about half of what the battery is rated at. So you have to watch out for that. Now the issue is even though that the battery tester tells you that it's good recharge, I've already tried to recharge this battery, but it's not really doing much. It's not holding a charge uh, all that well. It still works relatively okay in mild temperatures, but as soon as it starts to get too cold, you won't be able to crank the engine over. You won't be able to start the vehicle if it gets extremely cold, and so it's probably best to replace the the battery uh, at this time, because this battery is only going to get weaker and weaker until you won't be able to start the vehicle. Even though that the machine said the battery is good, I'm still going to be replacing this battery because it's 4 years old, and you can see it's half of what the CCA is rated at. It's just a few things to watch for, because I've worked at several shops in my past, and I would see that the machine, it would pass it. It wouldn't have any like major problems. It would say good and recharge, but the cold cranking amps is not high enough to run these vehicles in colder climates. So it might start and run okay, but it's not gonna be good enough when the weather gets too cold. And earlier, when I was trying to start this vehicle the other day, I could hear and feel that the engine was slow to turn over. So that's why we're going to be replacing it today. And so I'm going to go down. You can see here SOH for state of health at 56%, and SOC for state of charge at 30%. This battery is pretty much almost depleted, and the internal resistance of the battery is 8.32. And I think that's it for the battery test. So we're gonna be replacing it now. The cool thing about this battery tester, you can search for a printer or a Bluetooth device, Bluetooth printer, and search. If there's any Bluetooth printers around, it will find it, and you'll be able to print it out externally. So normally I like to use a memory saver to install in the OBD port of the vehicle, but I don't know if this one is working, because when I turn the switch on, it's flashing, and this is also flashing here. So uh, I don't know if this memory saver works, because it has been sitting around for quite some time. This acts like a mini battery, so that it can retain the vehicle settings. This is just used to do a quick battery replacement, so you can get this or something else. You can probably buy this from Amazon. This Mac Tools memory saver has just been rebranded to something else. So I have the memory saver plugged in right now. I'm going to turn the switch on. That's going to indicate that it's working. I don't know. I don't know if the memory saver works, but we are going to find out. I plugged it in from underneath the dash where the OBD2 port is, where the DLC diagnostic link connector. So we're going to see if it works. So just a word of caution when you are using the memory savers, because the memory saver is a small or a tiny battery, there'll still be a little bit of a live power going through the system, even when these uh, cables are disconnected. So you want to make sure that neither of these cables touch each other when you have the battery taken apart. So this vehicle has some custom wiring on it. This has a custom ground cable. The nut is a 13 millimeter on this side, and this one here is also a 13. The terminal has been replaced on this some years ago. So we are going to remove the negative terminal first. You should never ever remove the positive terminal first, because if you remove the positive terminal first, and if your wrench or ratchet or something like a piece of metal touches some other piece of metal as you are taking this off, that's going to complete the circuit, and then you're going to create a very large spark, possibly injure yourself. And also, don't have any rings on. If you have a wedding ring on, don't wear any jewelry or any rings, because if you remove the positive terminal, and you somehow close the circuit, then the circuit is going to be live. It will have power, and that piece of metal is going to melt and spark. So you want to be careful. That's why I always disconnect the negative terminal first. This is the 13. We're going to see if we can get it out like this. And this, you can just try to wiggle it, and then it comes off just like that. Usually I like to use a rag to wrap it around, just for extra added safety. You can put like a rag around here for added safety, and to put it aside. And now we're going to remove the positive. It's better to be safe rather than sorry. Remove this out of the way. If for some reason you're having a hard time trying to remove the terminals, sometimes you can insert a thin flathead screwdriver inside the terminal. You can insert a piece like a flathead screwdriver, so that you're able to open up the terminal, and you will be able to get the cable off. You can use like a screwdriver here and to pry gently on the terminal, so you're able to open it up. That's only if you're having a hard time trying to get the cables off or the terminals off. We'll put this aside, and now we just need to remove the hold down clamp on this vehicle, because it's been well maintained. I may not need to do that much cleaning on this, but in most cases for other vehicles, you may need to clean the terminals first before you to clean the cables before you disconnect it, and then after disconnecting it, you will need to clean them further, because sometimes there can be uh, corrosion on the cables, and on the cables here. You don't need to worry about the terminals themselves, because you're already replacing the battery anyways. And so you probably you probably have to do some cleaning in most cases. On this vehicle, I may not need to do that much cleaning. And sometimes the hold down hardware, sometimes they are rusted and stuff. In some cases, I clean off the rust, I sand them down, and then I paint them. I let them dry, and then I reinstall this. But on this vehicle, there's no rust, so I won't be able to show you anything for cleaning. We're going to remove the 10 millimeter bolt over here. Get this out of the way. Usually I like to remove this one first, because I don't need to adjust this after. So I can leave it that way. I may need to adjust it after I install the new battery, because the battery height will probably be slightly different than the one that you already have in the vehicle. So for the hold down, and you just need to push out. It's being held down on the in the hole there. I'm not able to show you guys at the moment. I probably have to bring the camera down there so you can see. This is a simple job, but I'm giving the details for this video. It's going to be extremely hard to show the opening. There's usually a hole down here in which the hook, they call it a J hook because it's a shape of a J. So there's a hole down there in which it has to go in. So we're just gonna remove the hold down hardware out of the way. This I'm just going to leave it alone because this has already been serviced. You can spray some of the rust proofing spray or something to lubricate it so it does not rust. So now the battery is free. So I just need to grab the handle. This one has a nice handle. So I just need to grab it and just take it out. And then we are going to put in the replacement battery. So we're going to reinstall the new battery. I just put in a regular battery this time around. Uh, I don't really see that much of a difference for deep cycle batteries, although they can help for like heavy duty applications. If you have like a sound system, there's a sound system in this vehicle, but where the customer doesn't use it much. So anyhow, so that's that. So this battery that the part store gave me is from November 2023. So it's roughly about a month and a half or 2 months old. It's in the almost getting close to mid January. So try to get a fresh battery if you're able to. I'd say like no more than 3 or 4 months maximum. If you have to fight in the store to get a fresh one, and then do so, because they should be giving you only the freshest batteries. And I tested this battery off camera, but I'm going to test it again just for the sake of the video. And so now we're just going to reinstall everything back. I'm just probably going to lubricate this a tiny bit with some of the fluid film spray. I'm going to use this. So I'm going to spray it down just to help with like rust and stuff. So I'm going to do that off camera. You also want to lubricate the J hook and the threads and everything. So you want to spray it all down. So we're going to install the hardware. Put it underneath like this, and I won't be able to show won't be able to show on camera the on how to install the J hook because it's very hard to see down there. So we're going to line this up. And, even for myself, I have to use a flashlight so I'm able to see. It's very dark. You just need to line up the hole just down here. You may need to adjust the other nut on this. It's a 10 mil. We're gonna put this in first. So what we are going to do is to loosen this a tiny bit so that we will be able to line this up so we can insert this bolt here, because If you don't loosen this, it's going to be a little bit harder to get this one in, to get the the bolt in. So there's a lot of attention. If the J hook is inside the hole, there's a lot of attention. So you want to take that tension off so you can install this uh, easy. We're just going to tighten this up. It doesn't need to be extremely tight, just snug and you're good. It's a small bolt. Now we're just going to make sure that the J hook is lined up inside the hole there, and it's lined up. So we're gonna adjust the battery on the holder area just to make sure it's in properly. We're going to tighten this up. Trying to give the battery a little bit of a shake or a wiggle. Make sure it's not able to move. I put this on the outside. You can put this underneath or outside. It doesn't really matter. In case if you want to change it and put it underneath, you can. Just in the and reroute the handle that way. So it doesn't matter. It's however you want to do it. So now just make sure you give the battery a small shake. And just make sure it's tight so it does not move, because the last thing that you want is that the battery is moving and flopping around, because uh, vibration will kill the battery in a short period of time. So you want to make sure it's held down securely. So now I'm just going to remove the protective caps. Just use a screwdriver, and sometimes you're able to save these for future battery replacements. This is good to act for like an insulation, so you don't accidentally touch the post. So I save these. Sometimes I just use it for future work. So now I'm just going to hook up the battery tester on the new battery to see on what it's putting out. So this one is a fully charged battery, at 12.6, 12.69. We're gonna go 12 volt in vehicle top post. This is a regular flooded type battery, CCA. This one is rated at can't really see the number. This one is also at 640. Testing. Here we have 12.68 volts, so that's a fully charged battery. I'm just gonna go see if I can go to the view print so it won't switch screens. So this one says it measured 849 cold cranking amps, rated at 640. The old one was only putting out 355 cold cranking amps, so that's a big difference. You need to realize that in cold weather you only have probably like 40 or 50% capacity of uh, the actual capacity of the battery, so you have less electricity that's flowing in colder weather. So if the say this is 849, you might have like half or less of that capability in colder weather, because the cold weather, both cold and hot weather, are both hard on batteries. But in colder weather, the electrons are flowing very slowly, and so it's much difficult for the vehicle to start in colder weather. So you need to make sure that you have a very good battery. So anyhow, we're gonna go back down. It says state of health 100%, state of charge 100%, internal resistance 4.28. So now we're going to connect the positive terminal. There isn't any cleaning to do, so that's the good part. There isn't any corrosion or anything. If there is, you can use a special tool to clean the battery terminals, something like this, or like this, to clean inside, and then you have something like this to clean. You can get this from any part stores, or possibly hardware stores, or auto part stores, or whatever. So we are going to connect that back in. These terminals are larger terminals, so sometimes you may need to open this up in order to get it in. So you want to make sure it's flush and completely inserted inside. Uh, I've seen some guys before where this is like partially is not in all the way. He's like halfway out, or three quarters, like halfway, or he quarter out. Like it's up like this. It's not seated all the way down. You need to make sure it's seated all the way in. You're going to tighten this up. On these Toyota vehicles, there will be a 10 millimeter for the stock, or the original size of these terminals. It will be a 10 millimeter on both ends. This one is a 13. We're going to tighten this up. I want to line this. There's a square piece here, so I need to make sure it's straight. So always, when you're doing batteries, to reconnect the positive first and then the negative last. It will be the opposite. When you remove the battery, the negative first, positive last. When you install the battery, positive first and then the negative last. You don't want to tighten it too much. It should be good. Probably gonna spray some of the rust proofing stuff afterwards. Now we're going to install the negative terminal. So now we're going to install the negative terminal. And usually when you connect these, there will be a tiny bit of a spark. So just want to make sure that it's clean in the inside before I reconnect this. I don't want any dirt inside. So we're going to reconnect it. There may be a spark when you connect it, so you just need to be careful. So I guess I didn't see a spark on this one. So I need to wiggle this to get this inserted all the way in. So we're going to tighten up the nut. To readjust this, just going to tighten it up now. Making sure it's tight, and then you should be all good to go. You can spray your favorite lubricant. Put some dielectric grease or whatever, and you should be all good. So it's all tight now. So I readjusted it and tightened it up. I'm gonna spray some maybe the fluid film stuff. You can also use the Toyota battery terminal spray if you want, the blue painted type of spray. I did spray that some years ago, but that has worn out. I'm gonna spray probably spray the fluid film stuff. Spray all on the terminals. You want to make sure you don't spray this stuff before you install the cable on. You want to install the cable first before spraying, because you don't want to put any lubricant around the terminals, because that's going to prevent the cable from contacting the terminal properly. So you want to do this after you are done. I'm just gonna spray some stuff here. Originally, there was a red protective cap, but there's no room to put that on because of all these wires, accessories, and add-ons. Spray some. And then you're all good to go. So now installation is complete. We're going to remove the memory saver and then start the vehicle. So I disconnected the memory saver. So you just need to close this up. So now we are going to proceed to start the vehicle. Uh, in some instances, if you don't have a memory saver hooked up on the Toyota vehicles, it will go into like a memory reset mode. So if you start the vehicle uh, without the ignition on for at least a minute, it will crank the engine over, and then it's going to stall. And then after you crank it over again, and then it will keep the engine running. So usually to prevent the stalling issue, you probably want to leave the ignition to on for about a minute, and then you can crank the vehicle over. But you won't have that problem if you hook up a memory saver. So I think that memory saver worked while it was plugged into the outlet, because usually it's not supposed to be plugged into the outlet. That's only used for charging, and so it's still it has retained the proper time. So I'm working late in the evening. So I'm going to start the vehicle now. You can see the voltage here. And the vehicle started. The the noises that you just heard is just from the aftermarket drive belt. It's not anything to be concerned about. So I'm going to let this vehicle run for some time, and then that's it. So there was a last thing I forgot to tell you guys, is about the terminal washers that I like to use, because these terminal washers help to prevent corrosion. So I notice a big difference using these. So I like to use these on every battery change. So just make sure you don't forget to put them on. before you install the terminals, because I forgot to put these on, so now I'm putting them on now. So now I reconnected the battery again, and now the vehicle is running now. So that's all there is to it for replacing the battery on this vehicle, and yeah, that's it. If you enjoyed this video and found it helpful, please don't forget to give it a like, and please consider subscribing to my channel if you're not already a subscriber, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Have a good day and take care.